I was face down on the perfect lawn of the house I had just bought cash, choking vision going dark around the edges with a police officer's knee jammed into my neck like he was trying to grind me into the dirt, and all I could smell was fresh-cut grass and roses and gasoline from the mower, and I remember thinking, I'm going to die. I'm too old for this. But this man is about to write me into a story I do not belong in because in his head I wasn't a homeowner. In a quiet, high-end neighborhood, I wasn't a 67-year-old man in a gold silk shirt on a calm afternoon. I was just another problem he could step on in public to prove he's in charge. And I want you to picture this with me, because if you can see it, then you will feel the rest of what happened after, all right. The sun's out, clean, suburban street, manicured hedges, mailboxes that match the houses, the kind of place where people walk golden retrievers and talk about landscape lighting, and there I am on the ground with my face mashed into my own lawn, cuffed, not resisting, struggling to get one good breath down into my chest. And Officer Dan Miller is standing over me like he's delivering some kind of lesson for the neighborhood, saying loud enough for everybody peeking out their windows, "This is what happens when you forget your place," like he's narrating it for them, like he's filming a training video. And I'm telling you right now, that's the moment I knew it was going to go way past a traffic stop, because that wasn't about the car, it wasn't about the speed limit, it wasn't about safety, it was about humiliation, it was about hierarchy, it was about who looks like they belong next to money and who doesn't, you know what I mean? Let me take you back a little, because it didn't start in the grass. It started with a car and a shirt and a look, simple as that. And yeah, it's always that simple at first. I'd just moved into Northwood Hills, quiet, rich, controlled kind of place, the kind of place HOA people act like they're in Congress, and my plan for the day was boring. I was literally heading to the nursery to buy roses. That was it. That was the crime of the day. I pull out of my driveway in my car. A cherry red 1965 Aston Martin DB5 polished chrome white interior, the kind of car people usually only see in a movie or parked behind a velvet rope. And I'm wearing this gold silk shirt with hand-sewn red roses down the sleeves, not to show off. That's just what I like. I'm old. I've earned nice things. I'm not apologizing for that. And I'm driving slow. No music up, full stop at every stop sign, because I already know how this goes when you're both black and comfortable in a zip code that isn't used to seeing you that way. And about 3 blocks from my house, I see him, Officer Dan Miller. 20 years on the force, stomach tight with anger, eyes that come preloaded with a decision about you before you say a word. And he sees me, and I swear to you, I watched it hit him like a punch. Like the sight of me in that car personally insulted him. Like I broke some private rule of his neighborhood. And you can always tell when it's that kind of stop because it's fast and it's emotional, not procedural. He flips on the lights, hits the siren, swings that cruiser around like a movie stunt, and I pull over right away, calm hands on the wheel where he can see them window down before he even gets out. I don't reach for a thing. I don't turn. I don't talk first. I do everything I was taught to do. So there is zero excuse for escalation, and he still walks up on me with his hand already sitting on his gun like he's expecting a war. License and registration, he barks, not a hello, not a reason for the stop, just an order like I'm a problem. He wants off the street. And I say, "Yes, sir, I'm going to reach for it slowly. It's in the glove box. Just so we're on the same page, officer." And I mean that. I am narrating my movements like I'm defusing a bomb, because at my age I can't afford someone else's panic. You get me. I hand it to him and I watch his face while he reads it, and I swear to you, the more correct it all is, the madder he gets, like the fact that my license matches my address, which matches the big colonial house at the end of his cul-de-sac. His words, not mine. And the car is registered and insured and paid for under my legal name. All of that doesn't calm him down. It offends him. Like reality dared to show up and disagree with his assumptions. And that's when I knew, oh, this isn't a traffic stop. This is about ego. "Where you headed in such a hurry?" "Elias," he says, hits my first name like he's spitting it, like saying Mr. Dubois would physically hurt him. And I tell him I'm going to the nursery, I'm getting roses, and I'm under the speed limit. And he smiles that cop smile, the one that's not friendly at all, and goes, "We got a report of a stolen classic vehicle matching this description. I'm going to need you to step out of the car." And we both know he's lying. And he knows I know he's lying, but he's not talking for me. He's talking for his rookie, and for the neighbors who have already started peeking through their blinds like this is cable. Now I've been around long enough to understand the game. When a man like Dan Miller tells you to get out of the car, it's not because he needs you out of the car, it's because he wants you physically under him. He wants you on display, he wants to show who's running the block. And I could feel it in his voice. This wasn't about safety, this was about making me small. I tell him calmly, "Officer, with respect, you've got my registration in your hand. Everything is in order. I'm cooperating. I don't believe you have probable cause to remove me from my vehicle, and to a normal cop that would be okay. Cool. Let's de-escalate. But to him, that was gasoline. His jaw tightens. He unclips his holster and he leans in real close, so only I can hear it, and goes, "I gave you an order, step out of the car now." And it's not even about the words, it's the tone, like I'm not a man, I'm a challenge. So I step out because, listen to me, when people say just comply like it's a magic shield, they don't understand that sometimes you can do every single thing right head to toe, and the person standing over you does not care. The script was already written in his mind the second he saw my skin tone next to that paint job. The sun is hot. I'm standing there in that gold silk shirt, hands visible, no sudden moves, and he grabs me and slams me onto the hood like I'm 25 and fighting him, not 67, and just trying to keep my balance, and now he's patting me down like he's looking for a reason to be rough, and he's talking in my ear, and this part right here is important because this is where the mask slips and you hear what it's really about. He says in this low little voice full of hate and coffee breath, "Got a lot of break-ins lately in this neighborhood. Folks get nervous when they see somebody like you in a car. Like, this must be nice, having such a profitable business." And I say, "The only thing making me nervous right now, officer, is you," and the second it leaves my mouth, I know I shouldn't have said it out loud, because that one line, that little bit of honesty, that was the spark that hit the gas. He yanks the front of my shirt so hard I hear it rip. And listen, that shirt wasn't cheap. Spins me, tries to trip me off the curb. I go down to one knee in my own grass, and before I can even plant my hand to get back up, boom, his weight is on me, full body, knee in my neck, forearm grinding my face into the dirt, and he's yelling, stop resisting," for the camera like it's choreography, and the rookie, his name is Chris Davis. Young still has hope in his eyes. He's going, "Dan, get off him. You're going to kill him." People are filming, and that last part is the only reason I'm here telling you this in my own voice, instead of you hearing it narrated by a news anchor with a graphic. I could feel it in my chest like a crushing, buzzing pressure, and I'll tell you the ugliest truth. I was scared, but not in the way you think I wasn't scared of dying. I've made my peace with that a long time ago. I was scared of the version of me they were going to sell. If I died, I was scared of the way they'd rewrite me into some threat to justify what he did, some aggressive suspect in a stolen car, instead of what I was, an old man going to buy roses. They dragged me up, wrists cuffed so tight my hands were going numb, shirt torn open, dirt on my face, and stuffed me in the back of the cruiser like trash. And Miller leans into the window, grinning like he just won something, and he says, "You're under arrest for assaulting an officer and resisting," and he shuts the door like a period, like that statement makes it real. On the ride in, he's talking to his rookie like he's teaching a class, and I'm sitting back there listening like I'm invisible, and he's saying, "You let one of them talk to you like that. They all think they can. You got to set tone immediately. It's about dominance, it's about control." And the kid is whispering, "Dan, he was an old man. He wasn't fighting you. There are cameras," and Miller just laughs and goes, "It's our word against his, and who do you think the chief is going to believe, some flashy liar in a silk shirt, or me?" And that's when the anger in me started to cool down and turn into calculation, because up until then I had been thinking, survive this moment, breathe. Don't get dropped on the concrete in a booking room somewhere. But right then, it clicked for me that this wasn't random. This wasn't one hot-headed cop. This was a system. This was choreography. This was something they were used to doing, and that meant there would be a pattern, and if there's a pattern, there's evidence. We get to Northwood Hills Police Department, which is this small beige building that looks like a dentist office with flags, not some gritty big city station. Real quiet, fake plants, bored desk sergeant, whole vibe like paperwork more than law enforcement. And Miller walks me in and performs me like a trophy, slams my wallet on the counter and goes, "Got a live one for you. Assaulted an officer, resisted, suspected stolen vehicle, names Elias Dubois, moved into the Henderson place," and the sergeant doesn't even blink, just goes, "No kidding, that neighborhood's really gone downhill," and laughs like it's a joke, and that laugh told me more than anything, because that's when I knew this was normal for them. This is what they do. This is Tuesday. So I'm standing there, cuffed, throat burning, wrists on fire, and I stop being quiet. I look straight at Miller and I say, "Before you continue processing me, you should know you're actively compounding a federal crime." And he smirks like, "Oh yeah, what? Offending royalty." And I say it calm, so calm. The air in the room changes. Assaulting a federal officer, interfering in an active federal investigation, unlawful detention of an agent of the United States Department of Justice, badge number 714, and I say my badge number like I'm reading a verse, and you should have seen his face, the color drained out of him in real time, like somebody pulled a plug. The room goes quiet. Desk sergeant stops laughing. Chris Davis looks like he's going to pass out, and Miller tries to get his swagger back, like, You're lying, you're You're lying. And I just say, in the back right pocket of my trousers, there's a leather case. You are going to remove it slowly and open it. And when he does, and he sees that gold DEA badge and the ID and my face on it from 20 years ago with the same eyes I have right now, that man almost sat down on the floor, and here's where it gets wild. You'd think this is the part where the chief walks in and says, "My God, I'm so sorry, sir. Let's fix this immediately," right? Because that's how sane people handle, "Oh no, we just choked a federal agent on his own lawn." No, that is not what happened. Chief Brian Wallace storms out of his office like a small-town warlord in a golf shirt, looks me up and down, looks at the badge, looks at his officer, and decides his play is intimidation. And he goes, "All right, let's all calm down, sir. My officers arrested you for assaulting law enforcement. That's serious, even for a so-called federal hotshot. Let's not start throwing around big words. Maybe we can solve this quietly. We drop our charges. You forget this little misunderstanding ever happened. You go back to your undercover business, and we all go home." And he smiles like he's doing me a favor, like he's offering me a coupon to go away. I just stare at him, not angry, just done, and I tell him, "Chief Wallace, you are going to take these cuffs off me. You are going to place Officer Miller under arrest for aggravated assault and civil rights violations. You are going to surrender all unedited body cam and dash cam footage related to this stop, and you are going to do it right now, or option 2, which is that I make one call, and by this afternoon this entire department is a federal crime scene, and you are a named co-conspirator in an obstruction case that ends your career before dinner." And he does this fake laugh like he doesn't believe me, steps in close, leans on that good old boy voice and says, "Listen, son, this is my town. We handle things locally here," and then he orders them to take me to holding, no phone call, no lawyer, keep him off the grid until I say otherwise. Let me pause here and make something very, very clear. When a man like that thinks he can disappear a federal agent off the books inside his own station, that means he's been getting away with a lot for a long time. They walk me to a concrete box, kill the cuffs, lock the door, and I'm sitting there on a metal bench in a ripped silk shirt, wrists, bruised throat sore, and I'm not panicking. I'm counting, because before they took my things, I used 60 seconds in a restroom to hit a single button on a satellite line I carry for exactly this reason, and that button doesn't call a lawyer, it calls a response. About an hour later, the ground starts to shake. I hear engines, multiple heavy, not local cruisers. I hear helicopter blades somewhere above the roof. I hear boots moving in sync, not sloppy. And then I hear the tone change in the station, that controlled kind of panic when people who thought they were untouchable realize someone bigger than them just walked in. Special agent in charge, Maria Thorne from the DEA, and a joint team with U.S. Marshals and Department of Justice investigators hit that building like a controlled detonation. Black Suburbans blocking the lot. Snipers on the roof across the street. A chopper dropping down so low the blinds rattle, agents in black tactical vests moving like they've rehearsed it. And Maria walks right into that lobby, flashes her badge and says, "This is now a federal crime scene. Nobody moves, nobody touches a computer, nobody leaves." And Chief Wallace comes out red-faced, like, "You can't just walk into my station," and she doesn't even let him finish. She just looks at him and says, "The only thing keeping you out of handcuffs right now is professional courtesy. Sit down and shut your mouth." From that point forward, it wasn't their building anymore, it was ours. They pulled me out of holding, checked my breathing, asked me if I needed medical, treated me like a human being, and then they went to work with a level of precision I wish I could explain. One team locked down the server room and stopped an active deletion of body cam and dash cam footage. Yes, they were already trying to wipe it. Another team started interviewing every single person in that station separately. No more buddy system, no more. We back each other up, and a third team went door to door in the neighborhood, politely knocking. "Ma'am, sir, we understand you witnessed an interaction this afternoon involving a red Aston Martin. Would you be willing to provide that footage to federal investigators? And let me tell you something beautiful. People who were too scared to even step onto their porches an hour before were suddenly opening doors, handing over phones, saying, 'I'll tell you everything,' because that's what happens when fear flips sides." They gathered it all. Crystal clear video of Miller yanking me out of my car for no reason, audio of him tearing my shirt and calling me boy and telling me I didn't belong there, video of his knee on my neck in my own front yard while I'm gasping and not resisting, audio of his rookie begging him to stop booking room, audio of Chief Wallace laughing and saying, "This is my town. Things get handled locally. Lock him up. No phone call. And once you have that, once it's not a he said once it's playing on a laptop with timestamps and location data, it's over." Maria sat Officer Chris Davis, the rookie, in an interview room. Me sitting off to the side, no yelling, no threats, just calm facts. And she told him, "Right now you're a witness. In a few hours you could be an accomplice. Witnesses get protection, accomplices go to federal prison. You know what they do to cops in federal prison, and the poor kid just broke and everything poured out of him. Not just what happened to me, but how. It wasn't the first time how Miller had a pattern of targeting black drivers in high-end cars, with made-up pretexts, how they seized cash during bogus stops and called it civil forfeiture, how Wallace skimmed it into off-book accounts, how local business owners were basically shaken down under the threat of inspections and permits, and that right there is when it stopped being about me getting choked on my lawn and turned into racketeering. And yes, they said that word, racketeering, because what they were running out of that station wasn't policing. It was an organized shakedown machine hiding behind badges. Maria didn't wait for paperwork to grow mold. She moved instantly, and I watched it happen with my own eyes. They walked Miller out of his own station in cuffs in front of every news camera that had already started showing up straight-faced, reading charges like scripture, aggravated assault, deprivation of rights under color of law conspiracy, and you could hear people in the parking lot gasp when they said deprivation of rights under color of law, because that's federal language, that's not slap on the wrist language, that's spend years thinking about it language. And then she went into Wallace's office with 2 marshals and came out with him cuffed too, announcing obstruction, conspiracy, money laundering, racketeering. And when she said racketeering in that little suburban police department lobby with neighbors watching through the glass, I'm telling you right now, that was the moment the whole town understood this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a criminal enterprise wearing uniforms. Word spread in about 5 minutes. Neighbors started coming out, not hiding, not whispering, standing in clusters in front of the station, some angry, some crying, some flat out relieved, holding phones up, documenting. And people started talking, like really talking, telling stories they had swallowed for years. One older black man saying how Miller pulled his son over, said a tail light was out when it wasn't, tore his car apart. Took $700 cash that was supposed to go to textbooks and said they could either let that money go or spend the night in jail. A Latina restaurant owner saying the chief came in once a month and never paid for his meal and called it community support, hinting that her liquor license could get complicated if she suddenly stopped being generous. And if you're sitting there thinking, how did nobody say anything? Before I'll tell you how fear simple as that, people didn't think anyone would believe them. Because for years, the only evidence was a cop's word against yours, and that is not a fair fight. But that day, the ground shifted and fear switched teams. The feds didn't pack up and leave either. They didn't just arrest 2 guys and vanish. They stayed. They froze accounts. They pulled records. They put the department under federal control so fast it made local politicians swallow their tongues. They started the process of ripping that whole thing out by the roots. And over the next few weeks, Northwood Hills Police Department, as people knew it, basically stopped existing. Indictments hit multiple officers, not just Miller, including some who thought they'd skated. The department was placed under a federal consent agreement. Body cam rules were locked in, civilian oversight panels were brought in, and all that forfeiture money they'd been quietly collecting, the vacations, the off-book bonuses, the slush funds, got seized and turned into something useful legal aid for anyone in town who'd been shaken down, or profiled scholarships for local kids who wanted to study law or public service for real, not whatever that department had been doing. And here's the part I want you to sit with. A few weeks later, same neighborhood where I got choked on the grass, same street where everybody watched through a window instead of stepping in. We had people gathered on my front lawn at sunset, not protesting, not yelling, just being there, folding chairs, set up kids running around, neighbors who had never even said hi to each other, sharing food, and someone started a chant. Not angry, not burn it down. Just 3 simple words. Our town, our town, our town. And I'm standing there with a glass of iced tea and my throat still a little sore when this older white woman from across the street comes up to me shaking, and she's got her phone in her hand, and she says, "Mr. Dubois, I filmed what they did to you, and I am so sorry I didn't come outside. I was frozen." And she is crying when she says it, and I told her, "Ma'am, you don't owe me an apology. You saved my life, and you helped save this whole department from itself. Because once the truth is on video and it's in the light, they can't lie the same way anymore." I'm telling you this because people hear a story like this and they think it's about one bad cop who finally got what was coming, and they clap and move on. But for me, that's not the lesson. The lesson is this. Power protects itself until somebody drags it into daylight, and daylight almost never comes from inside the system. Daylight comes when regular people finally say, "No, you're not doing that here anymore. This is our town." So I'm going to ask you something, and I want you to really answer it. Drop it in the comments. Argue with each other, whatever you need to do, but be honest with yourself. When you see someone who doesn't look like what you think belongs in a certain car, a certain neighborhood, a certain job, what story do you tell yourself in your head before you know a single fact about them? And second question, when you see someone, anyone, older man, young kid, doesn't matter, getting pushed, humiliated, roughed up in a way that feels wrong, do you step forward or do you pull the curtain shut and hope it ends fast? Because at the end of the day, yeah, Dan Miller and Chief Wallace lost everything, and yeah, Northwood Hills got cleaned out, but the truth is that only happened because people finally stopped being scared and started being witnesses. So tell me right now, and don't hold back, which part of this story hit you hardest? The knee on the neck, the badge reveal, the federal takedown, or the town finally standing up and saying, "Our town"? And have you ever seen something like this play out where you live? Put it in the comments. And if you want more stories where the ending actually swings back toward justice, hit subscribe and stay with me because we're not done yet.